So for you, Limo,
Yeah.
I would love to know, as you're like very successful guy in business, what are the similarities between business and dating, like the common
hmm
points?
Man, there are so many similarities between dating and business. It's fascinating. So first of all, the same process you have in business when it comes to getting a prospect from a non-buyer to like a buyer to a client is very similar. There's like in dating, there's like this courtship phase, right, where you're gonna start, generating some interest from her, getting her attention first, building rapport, then potentially going on a first date. And I mean, some people close on a first date, but you can also take more time and and get to know her more, etc., and escalate things gradually. And so the same process that you can have with women when it comes to closing the deal with women also applies to business in many ways and vice versa. Sales equals dating, dating equals sales. I mean, the same way you're going to communicate your value to a woman, you can also communicate your value to a potential prospect, etc. The same communication skills and psychological understandings that you would have in seduction can also be transferable to business. That's why a lot of guys who work on their dating life for a long time, a lot of guys who develop their seduction skills are way more powerful in business than guys who didn't, because they kind of understand some very subtle nuances about psychology that guys who just were just geeking out on their computer and never went out don't kind of understand, don't kind of get. So I've noticed this in business, like guys who are truly powerful, charismatic communicators. Men are usually also pretty good with women, and they understand a lot of things about psychology and communication and influence and attraction and how the whole dating process works. Not all the time. I mean, there's plenty of billionaires who have no clue what they're doing with women. There's plenty of examples out there. I mean, we've seen all these billionaires getting divorced and the girl getting half the money, but still, most of the time, I've seen a lot of guys who are very successful in dating, and that also transfers on to business too. They have a lot more power in negotiation in business, for example. I like Trump, for example. Trump
Yeah.
is kind of a playboy. He's very charismatic. He's very he has a lot of charisma, but you can tell that he's also really good with women too, and the same understandings he has with women also transfers on to negotiation in business and stuff like that. Like, yeah, Andrew Tate, for example, too. So yeah.
Okay. So for a total beginner, like someone like doesn't know what he's doing with his like dating life, what would be like the advice you could give to a total newbie like that to just improve and get like quick result in their dating life?
hmm Yeah. So personally, there's three big shifts that I made in my dating life to really go from not getting dates or getting maybe one date every 2, 3 weeks or something, like very inconsistent, to getting like 2, 3 dates a week whenever I want. First of all, like, you have to start approaching more women. Like, most of you guys are not getting dates because you don't have enough volume. You think you're approaching girls, but you're not really. You're just swiping a few girls on Tinder and matching maybe with one or two, but there's not enough volume. You have to get yourself to approach in real life, get yourself to approach online. Online, the best thing is Instagram. You need to also build a social circle, have friends, have a lifestyle that attracts women too. Because if you're just a loner and trying to date girls without any lifestyle, it's not that good. You need to have friends, you need to have a certain attractive lifestyle. But yeah, I mean, you need to be on multiple channels. Like, you need to have cold approach on point. You need to be able to approach women in real life, whether during daytime or nighttime. You need to have a good online presence, a good social circle. That's what you need. And then taking action consistently. View it like a sport. View it like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you go to the gym maybe 2, 3, 4 times a week, and you show up consistently. And you know that if you don't show up, well, then you're not going to get any results. Well, it's the same thing with dating. You have to show up consistently, have enough conversations, put in the reps. And the more conversations you have, the more chances you have of converting into a date and then converting into sex. And it's really like a funnel, really. It starts with an approach. Then from the approach, you have a conversation. Then from the conversation, you have a date. Then from the date, you have sex. And it's a whole process. But it all starts with generating conversations. And the only way is either online or in real life. And so taking action, doing that, and working on your identity too. Like, what kind of man do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of women do you want to attract? It really starts with having this strong understanding of yourself and of what kind of woman you want to attract, because from there, You're gonna have a lot more clarity on like you need to have a strong because you need to have a strong why. If you don't have a strong why you're doing this, like why are you dating girls? Why do you want to do this? If it's just to get laid and have sex, that's okay. That's like a what I call a lower self motivation. That's like a lower self motivation. Like, oh, I just want to get laid, or oh, I just want to get revenge or something from my girlfriend. Or that's a lower self motivation. But like a higher self motivation, a strong why would be like, oh well, I want to become a great father someday. Well, I want to attract the highest quality partner I can so I can build a family one day and really like have those skills or whatever. And those higher self motivations are what's gonna get you to stick around and consistently show up in your dating life too. So really it starts with the internal too as well. So taking action consistently, having a multi-channel dating marketing and enough volume and your identity and all of that. And you're not going to get there by yourself. Probably not. You probably need to be surrounded by other guys who are also good at this. Because if you're just doing this by yourself or reading books by yourself in your room, like this is not going to evolve. Like you need to have coaches, mentors, or guys. Surround yourself with wingmen who are also on the path to success with women. You know.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know dating and all that stuff is kind of a controversial industry in a
It
sense.
is. Yeah.
So I'm very curious to know, like, how is it to evolve in this industry, in the dating industry and business overall, when you're seen as a dating coach, basically?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, first of all, you get a lot of backlash from people sometimes, like, what is this? This is a scam. This is like blah, blah, blah. And like, a lot of people think like you can't actually evolve as a man and get successful with girls. It's just like we're just selling a dream, but you can't actually. Like a lot of people think, oh, it can only be natural. Like you can't learn this. There's no, and so that's a big thing. So a lot of skepticism from people, and the industry is also tinted by a negative image of like the pickup artist stuff. Like a lot of guys over the years, they portrayed like a very bad image of seduction because they portray this image of like just reciting pickup lines and manipulating women and like all of that, and all these things also come into play because like most people think that what I'm doing as a dating coach is just like teaching guys how to manipulate women to have sex with them and stuff like that. But it's not true. It's actually the opposite of that. We want to create like a win-win situation for both, and it really comes from an understanding of psychology, communication, and it's way deeper than that. I mean, way deeper. So I think the main obstacles is a lot of skepticism, a lot of backlash. Sometimes people don't understand like what it is, and then also, I mean, a lot of guys who are interested in like those services, a lot of them are broke. A lot of them are broke. There's less money in the dating industry than in the business coaching industry. If I was a business coach, I would make more money. I'm pretty sure about that. I would make more money as a business coach. But I prefer dating. I prefer teaching dating. So maybe one day I might pivot, but it's just like, the money in this industry is there, but less than some other industries. So that's one thing. So it's a personal choice. Then.
Okay, so I'm pretty curious. Like, at first you weren't born like that, and with all this knowledge. So how did you get to this point where you know all these things about dating, all these processes, all these systems? So yeah, how you went from total newbie to professional?
So it's a great question. So first of all, I mean, when I started, the main thing, and I'm sure you had that experience too. Maybe you had a heartbreak, or maybe you were in love with a girl, and at some point, like she loses interest for some reason, and all of a sudden, like she breaks up with you, or something happens, and that triggers you. Obviously, like you get a bit angry, or you get a bit like you're questioning yourself, like why did this happen? What is happening? And you don't understand why she's playing hard to get, or why she's doing this, or why. And so it starts with life experiences. Like I had a few breakups, a few things like that. And I thought to myself, like, I don't want to be like that. I want to understand why things are happening and how I can avoid them and how to beat them. Like if a woman plays hard to get, well, how can I beat that? How can I counteract that? And I didn't. What's the counterattack? I wanted to understand the game because I grew up around women. I grew up with my mother and my sister most of the time. My father was mainly living in France. He was visiting us like once a month. So I grew up around women. I understood a bit women, but I didn't understand how to seduce them and retain them and attract them and like all these things. And so from a very young age, at the age of 16, 17, I started watching videos on YouTube about this, like, oh, how can I attract a girl, or how can I blah blah blah, when do I kiss a girl, blah, 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 like, those type of thing. I had those, and it's normal. I bet some of you guys listening to this are also relating to that. I mean, it's a normal thing, because I truly believe as a man, you can't pretend to be a full stack man if you don't have the dating area optimized as well. Like, you can't pretend to just be a full stack if you can't get girls. Like, if you're a full stack guy, you need to have everything on point: the girls, the money, the fitness. And so in my head, I was like, yeah, I want to be full stack. I don't want to be the guy who only makes money or who only has muscles and can't get girls. I want to have everything. And so from the get go, I knew I had to prioritize this area as well from the get go. So I started reading books, I started watching videos. Then I bought a few courses when I was a student, and I invested in my first mentor when I was 19, a boot camp. It was a boot camp program. For those of you who don't know what a boot camp is, it's basically a live program where you go with a coach in real life for a few hours or a few days, and you go out with him, and you meet women with him, you date girls with him, you have fun with him, basically, and he shows you what to do in real life with other women, and so you can see from your own eyes what he's doing, and he can give you feedback on what you're doing. So I think this is one of the most practical ways of learning this. You can learn this online too, but at the end of the day, it comes to action in real life. And so having a boot camp or a real life program really helped me personally. And this is what made a big shift in everything from there on. From there on, from then on, after the boot camp, I started getting results very quickly. And then I invested in other mentors, other courses, and from then on, it just kept improving. So then I started reading more books, more programs, more stuff, and then eventually, like after a few months or after a few years of doing this, like you just internalize the right things, and the right things become natural. It becomes second nature. Maybe there's four levels of competence, right? There's unconscious incompetence, like you don't even know that you don't know. There's conscious incompetence, so you know that you don't know stuff, but yeah, you don't know how to do them. Then there's conscious competence, which means like you're a bit competent, but it takes a lot of mental energy to do it, and it's not natural yet. And then there's unconscious competence, and this is really the last level, where like you do things naturally, just second nature. You've internalized all these habits and those practices. And this is really the level that I want all my clients that work with me, I want them to go from unconscious competence or maybe conscious incompetence to something where they're unconsciously competent. Like they just know what to do and how to do it, and you just internalized. And that's how you become smooth. That's how you become natural, charismatic, etc. Because you've internalized the right practices. So this is what it is. And yeah, coaches, mentors, books, going out a lot, taking action, feedback, recording myself. I used to record. I used to have a YouTube channel when I was living in Montreal, and every week we would go out and film ourselves talking to girls, making out with girls in the street, like having fun. And that also helps when you see yourself on camera talking to women, or you see yourself like interacting. It really makes you understand like some of the things you need to change very quickly, very, very quickly. So it's like public speakers. The best public speakers, they listen to themselves again, or they like on sales calls. I bet when you started, you recorded your sales calls maybe. So the same thing. You have to record yourself a bit just to kind of understand some of the things you do that are off, and that you should probably change. So that's important. Yeah, having a feedback loop. You need to have a feedback loop. What can I do better the next time? How can I do better in this interaction? And having this constant feedback loop also helps you improve very quickly. So yeah,
Thanks.
thanks.
So I know you're a big chess player.
I am, yeah.
So I'm really curious to know what are the similarities between like chess playing and business
And dating too.
and dating as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So chess is a very, very, very good game when it comes to strategy and anticipating moves way ahead. And when it comes to business, I mean, in business, Anytime you engage in any business practices, there's going to be risks involved. There's going to be an opportunity cost to every move you make. Whether you want to invest on ads, there's going to be an opportunity cost, because if you invest that money on ads, maybe you don't invest that money on hiring another guy in your team. Or if you choose to post a lot of content on TikTok and Instagram, then you spend less time prospecting and doing sales calls. And like, there's always an opportunity cost, and there's always things that you need to kind of anticipate. And in chess, this is the name of the game. I mean, whenever an opponent makes a move, you need to kind of see on the chessboard what is the smartest move that has the lowest opportunity cost, but the highest yield of results, and of like conquering more territory in the chessboard. And so that's what it is in terms of chess and business. And in terms of dating, I see dating, as I said, as a funnel, a process, really. And in chess, also, there's 3 stages of the game in chess. There's an opening, the opening game, there's the middle game, and there's the end game. And so in chess, there's 3 stages: the opening game, the middle game, and the end game. And in dating, same thing. There's kind of the opening game. This is the phase where you get to know each other a bit, you build a bit of rapport. It's just the beginning. You guys don't know each other that much, and you're just starting out to know each other. Then there's like the middle game, where you start dating a bit, maybe you kiss a bit, maybe you start, escalating a bit. And then there's the end game, which is like after sex and maybe having a relationship and retaining her and all of that. And that's another game. Like, obtaining women is very different than retaining women. That takes different sets of skills and practices too. A lot of guys are good at obtaining women, but they're really bad at retaining them, and vice versa. A lot of guys are bad at obtaining them, but when it comes to long-term stuff and retaining the girl, they're good at that. So you have to be good at all stages of the game. And same thing in chess. And the most important stage in chess is the middle game and the end game. The opening game, everything is a bit similar. Like, people, I mean, the opening is not, I mean, it's important, but the most important thing is like the middle game and the end game. And same thing in business or dating. How you start out, how you approach a girl in the beginning, how you open her in the beginning. A girl is not going to fuck you because of your opener. Like your opener could be whatever. But what really matters is how you behave throughout the whole interaction, throughout the whole process. Because a lot of guys can fake it for a few minutes, but you can't fake it for a few hours. Like, a lot of guys put on a facade of like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm blah, blah, blah. And like, they try to look like James Bond in the beginning and like be so cool, etc. But then they come back to normal after a few minutes, because it's not really their personality, and the girl can sense it. And so the girls like can see the holes in the facade, and then she ends up being just unattracted to him, because she sees like he's not congruent. So same thing, you have to be congruent the whole time. You have to learn how to maintain like a strong identity and a strong frame all the time. And that comes from internal work as well. You need to work on yourself internally as well. Yeah.
So when it comes to dating, what are your 3 biggest shifts, and what are the 3 biggest mistakes you made?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So when I started out, first of all, one of my biggest mistake is really not having a clear strategy or process. I would just go out sometimes, get a drink with some friends, and maybe, if I'm lucky, maybe a girl would be hooked and I would sleep with her from a party or something. Maybe. But I didn't have a consistent process, and having a clear strategy and system is so important. What are you going to do on a weekly basis that's going to lead to you getting dates? What is your funnel? What is your process? Are you approaching women in real life, during daytime, nighttime? Are you doing online with Instagram and dating apps? Are you doing social circle? What is your system? What is your strategy? Be very clear on that. Have a process, a funnel. If you don't have that, don't expect consistent results. Second thing, taking action consistently. I mean, a lot of you guys are not getting dates because you don't have enough volume. Pure and simply, I mean, you're approaching 2 girls a week and you think you're going to be a super playboy. Like, no, you need to approach minimum 10, 20, 30 girls a week if you want to get consistent results and substantial results. I mean, it's a numbers game as well. It's like sales in business. If you only talk to 2 prospects a week, like, probably none of them are going to be interested, or maybe one if you're lucky, and like, you don't have enough volume. So you need to have enough reach, enough traffic, enough eyeballs, and it's important to put yourself out there with women as much as possible. Market yourself. Stop staying home, working, and without seeing anyone, like just working like a geek. Like, just go out more. Nothing happens at your house. Everything, if you think about it, nothing happens at your house apart like from work and stuff. But like, if you want to make things happen, it's gonna happen outside your house. Even if you work, try to work at least twice a week outside a little bit, or try to take walks a few times a week, or at least go out once a week to a club or to a bar. Make things happen. And a lot of you guys are valuable guys already. A lot of you guys that are listening to this, you're already entrepreneurs. You're already working on yourself. You're already going to the gym. So you're a good product already, but the marketing is off. You don't have a lot of reach. You're not marketing yourself enough. And so if you fix the marketing, if you fix the communication, you can have 10x, you can 10x your results. And that's what most guys come to me for, is because they're already pretty valuable guys already. They're already succeeding in some level in their lives. And they want to also transfer on that success into the dating realm and have success there too. And I help them put the right systems there. Yeah.
Okay. So earlier we talked about like dating and how psychology was important in dating.
Yeah.
What would be the most important like levers or psychology bias you would use to your advantage in dating?
hmm Well, in terms of psychology and cognitive biases, first of all, I mean, one thing that helped me a lot is the 25, the psychology of misjudgment by Charlie Munger. So Charlie Munger is the partner of Warren Buffett in Berkshire Hathaway, and he is huge on psychology and cognitive biases and stuff like that. And so I learned a lot of things about that. So there's many things you can use with women in terms of psychology. And there's a book also called Influence by Robert Cialdini, amazing book.
Famous.
Yeah, if you pair Influence by Robert Cialdini with the 25 cognitive biases by Charlie Munger, like that, when you understand those two things, you can understand how to influence people like very quickly and how to take advantage of their psychology to some extent without manipulating them, like in a good way, you know. Because even if you manipulate someone to buy something, if it's in their best interest to buy it and it's generally going to change their lives, then it's not really manipulation, like bad manipulation. It's like you're helping him make a decision.
Yeah.
Same thing with women. Anytime I manipulate or I try to use their psychology in my advantage, I don't see that as like badly. I see that as I'm really helping them make the right decision, and I'm putting odds in my favor so that they can see the value in what we're doing together. And so in terms of psychology, I mean, you can use so many things. You can use reciprocity to your advantage. You can use scarcity to your advantage. You can use the liking bias to your advantage, loss aversion bias when it comes to like having no fear of loss around women and understanding that. We tend to put more value on a loss than on potentially gaining something. And so with women, you need to kind of counteract that. With women, you need to also have this ability to take risks and take measured risks with women and like overcoming this fear of loss and loss aversion bias and stuff like that. But with women, man, I mean, a lot of things are with women in terms of psychology that I use. It's really, first of all, the halo effect. When a person believes that you are a certain way, like you are a certain type of guy, their psychology is, I mean, everything you do, they're way more likely to interpret it as that way, because people don't want to be wrong. People, like, our brain is a generalization machine. We like to generalize people. So whenever you present yourself a certain way, people like to generalize you, and they make like a very quick decision of what type of guy you are. And then whatever thing you do, they associate that with their first perception of you. So halo effect with my online presence and how I dress and how I show up. Then reciprocity, scarcity. You know, there's something called the Lollapalooza effect. I don't know if you heard of it.
Never.
Okay, so the Lollapalooza effect has been first described by Charlie Munger because there was a festival called the Lollapalooza Festival. And basically, people in this festival, they used to mix a lot of drugs and a lot of substances and stuff like that. And it would drive them crazy. And there's an effect called the Lollapalooza effect where basically you can use multiple influence leverages to your advantage in a conversation or when you want to influence someone. So for example, let's say I'm texting a girl and I want a girl to come to my party this week. Okay? I could say, hey, want to come to my party? That's too basic. You're not leveraging psychology here. But if you say, hey, my girlfriends and I were going to a party and we only have a few spots left in our limousine, for example. There's only 2 spots left, and everybody's going there, and there's only like you need to tell me by tomorrow because everybody has to confirm, etc. You're putting a lot of you're putting social proof. Like me and my girls are going to this party. Social proof. You're putting scarcity. Like, oh, you need to tell me by tomorrow, etc. You're putting how can I say? There's scarcity and there's also another one, urgency. You're putting all these type of things, and it's like in an e-commerce store.
Yeah.
In an e-commerce store, what do you see? You see like, okay, there's only 4 items left. Oh, this guy bought 2 minutes ago. Oh, this thing, and reviews, also testimonials, and all these things. That's a Lollapalooza effect. It's like multiple influence leverages at the same time. And so same thing with women. You can do that for an after party. Let's say I'm meeting a girl in a club. I can say, hey, my friends and I were going to this after party, and yeah, we're leaving right now because we only have 2 spots in the Uber, and this and that, and it's gonna be fun and blah blah blah. And I can put a lot of influence leverages. I know how I'm explaining it right now doesn't sound crazy, but like it really helps to understand like those influence leverages, like scarcity, urgency, liking, social proof. Like all these things help in psychology when it comes to convincing people or stuff like that. There's also something it's called the reason respecting tendency, where basically people are going to be more likely to agree to do something for you if you provide a reason for them to do something. So if you just tell a girl to come home with you, there's no real reason. There's no like plausible deniability. But if you say, hey, this club is getting boring and blah, 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 and it's going to close soon, come to my house because there's a great view and we can get some wine and blah, blah, blah. If you say that, she's way more likely to come because you're providing her a reason and stuff like that. And so she can backward rationalize things. Same thing. I mean, they made an experiment where people were basically standing in line in front of a copying machine. And people were standing in line there. And a psychologist made an experiment. Like either they directly ask the people, like, hey, can I go in front of you? Or they provide a reason, like, hey, can I go in front of you because I have to run to my car or because I have the kids waiting? Guess what? When they didn't provide a reason, 90% of people said no. So, hey, can I come in front of you? No, sorry, I'm always before you. But if you provide a reason, like, hey, can I come in front of you because I have to run now? Just because. Most people say, okay, yeah, you can go. 90% of the time. Because our brain likes to have a reason for why they do something, even if the reason is a bit irrelevant or is bullshit. Just like that, the reason respecting tendency. So this helps with women when it comes to leading stuff or like providing a reason, providing plausible deniability. Because women don't want to have the responsibility of assuming the leadership. Like they won't think to magically just happen. You have to make a woman feel like things are magically just happening. And she has no responsibility in like having sex with you. You just led the whole thing and it just happened. And so every time you need to provide a reason, provide her plausible deniability, and be smooth about the whole process so that she feels like she just got swept off her feet and she magically landed on your dick, like, that's the thing. So anyway, I mean, there's so many things, but those are the main things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Limo.